I'm Zoe Delahunty Light, and Ethan Winters is dead. Long live Rose Winters. Here is her story. Rose Winters was born to Mia and Ethan Winters. I'll be honest, she looked pretty ew as a baby with a massive head, and in Resident Evil Village, when you run into the Duke, I wouldn't blame you for thinking there's an uncanny resemblance there, for whatever reason. Upon her birth, and to be honest, her conception, Rose had mold in her veins and arteries and organs and everything. This is due to Ethan being made up of reanimated mold after being murdered by Jack Baker at the Baker house, in addition to Mia's latent infection from Evelyn, which also happened at the Baker house. As such, Rose is taken for regular medical checkups with Mia and, despite worries from her parents and probably Chris Redfield, had a healthy childhood. As a baby, Rose loved fruit puree and banging on drums, the latter so much so that her joyous din made Ethan think she could even grow up to be a musician. Mia and Ethan were so besotted with their only child that they even threw Rose a half-birthday party. This familial bliss was disrupted when the Winters caught Miranda's eye. In a small, aggressively traditional village far away from civilization, Miranda was born. She lived, gave birth to a daughter, Eva, but her child was struck down by the Spanish flu that ravaged Miranda's isolated village. Depressed, distraught, and ready to die, Miranda wandered into a local cave, and there she found the Megamycete, a mass of black mold that lay sleeping all throughout the foundations of the village, and that held the memories of everyone who had ever died in its territory. Miranda learnt how to wield the mold and soon merged with it, becoming near godlike in power. She manipulated the villagers into seeing her as their divine savior, gaining their trust and immediately exploiting it to experiment upon them in an effort to bring her daughter back to life. In the face of so many failures, Miranda couldn't come close to finding a vessel for Eva. Then, Rose caught her eye. Rose was a miracle to Miranda. Her high mold affinity meant she was exactly what Miranda had been seeking for all these years. After years of studying the Black God, Miranda had grown adept at wielding it to the extent that she's able to morph into whatever appearance she desired. Unbeknownst to Ethan, Miranda abducted Mia, disguised herself as Rose's mother, and infiltrated the Winters household. In hindsight, a big clue that she wasn't really Mia was when she started to cook traditional regional food that Miranda herself probably cooked in the village, snapped coldly at Ethan, and, the biggest clue of them all, didn't flinch but actively looked pissed when she was shot in the chest by Chris's squad. A bit of a giveaway, that, because, yes, Chris had figured out that Miranda had been impersonating Mia, and he wasn't okay with that. Thus, incapacitated by Chris, Miranda was restrained and then sent with the sedated Ethan and Rose to an undisclosed location. But come on, a mere van escort for someone like Miranda? Really, Chris? Miranda awakened within the truck and killed almost everyone inside, seizing Rose and leaving Ethan for dead. Back in the village, Miranda puts Rose through a highly traumatic ritual wherein the Winters baby is crystallized and split into 4 parts, one given to each lord of the village: Lady Alcina Domitrescu, Donna Beneviento, Salvatore Moreau, and Carl Heisenberg. Ethan secures all of Rose's disparate parts, but is thwarted by Miranda, who reforms Rose using the Megamycete. But before she could be changed into Eva, Rose is saved by her father, who then sacrifices himself to destroy the Black God and Miranda. Rose, Mia, Chris and his crew are flown to safety, and the rebuilding begins, and, presumably, a shit ton of therapy. Rose grows into an anxious but optimistic child, raised by Mia and told almost nothing about her father, apart from that he sacrificed himself to save her life. Chris is a regular presence in her childhood, and their relationship was strong enough that, in her diary, Rose describes being so thrilled to see him that she wants to hug him. Okay, even I'll admit that is very sweet. Rose was horribly bullied as a child, makes her uncomfortably relatable. She desperately wants to make friends, but that mold in her tiny body makes her the target of mean, horrible kids. White secretions, which Rose calls sweat, seep from her small hands no matter how often she wiped it away with her hankies. She'd bring plenty of them to school, yet nothing could stop this substance from appearing. You can probably see this coming, but that white sweat made Rose an easy target for bullies. Even though it got to the point where Chris himself came to her school and assured Rose's teacher that no one would get sick from Rose's condition, baby Winters still suffered. 2 kids in particular singled Rose out: Lucy and Catherine. Rose mistook their initial attention for friendship. She was wrong. Lucy and Catherine caught Rose in the toilets and tried to scrub her clean of the stuff on her skin using a broom and disinfectant. I know it's not socially acceptable to drop kick kids, but damn, these bullies come close. There's another incident which I think happened, and it's even more disturbing than that incident. By the looks of it, during Christmas, Rose was tricked into accepting a present from a boy in her class, while Lucy and Catherine planned to dump a bucket of water on top of her. God, these girls are the worst. That's about all I know of her childhood. Years pass, and Rose grows into a teenager. Rose's only link to her dad is Ethan's beloved coat. It swamps her small frame, but that doesn't stop Rose from devoutly wearing it in an effort to feel closer to a man who she knows precious little about, apart from he gave his life to save her. As her moldy powers grow, Rose is pulled deeper into Chris's world, accompanying him on missions, but I have absolutely no idea what kinds of missions they were. On top of whatever Chris has her doing, Rose is also doing schoolwork and trying to stay in touch with her mother, Mia, as, by the events of Shadows of Rose, it's been a long time since she's seen her mum in person. Doesn't matter if she was on a mission or not though, as Rose was always kept under surveillance by Chris's squad, even being assigned a handler. But our Rose isn't stupid. She's figured out how to slip away when she wants to. Unbeknownst to Chris, Rose, and literally everyone else, Miranda's consciousness has survived within a fragment of the megamycete Chris secured. Inside the megamycete, Miranda tries to replicate Rose, still desperate to create a vessel for Eva and hold her daughter once again. She manages to create a distorted replica of the Duke along the way, but he has no memories of his real self and his face is twisted in some way which we never quite see, making him, in Miranda's cruel, cold eyes, evidence that she needs to keep experimenting. Miranda uses this Duke to test out the replicas of the Roses she's created, putting them through a horrific gauntlet of death where they're hunted, torn apart, and treated like rabbits, all to see if any of them can make it to the end and be worthy of being Eva's vessel. God knows what poor Eva would think about all of this if she were even alive. I doubt she'd share her mother's insatiable desires. Deep inside the megamycete stratum, Miranda isn't actually alone, as Evelyn, bioweapon, child, and legendary haver of tantrums, has made herself at home in a reconstruction of Donna Beneviento's house. Unable to lose any semblance of control, ironic considering she wants to bring her toddler back, Miranda is pissed that Evelyn has found her way into Miranda's realm and is causing havoc with Donna's dolls. Outside of the Black God fragment, Rose is living her life, but something is missing. Still affected by the bullying she endured as a child, Rose wants nothing more than to be normal and be rid of the mold in her veins. Miranda is all too happy to help. A hallucination of someone called Kay is created by Miranda to manipulate Rose to interact with the megamycete fragment, telling her that within it lies a purifying crystal that can supposedly rid Rose of her powers. By entering the megamycete, Rose is lured even closer to Miranda, first finding herself in a version of Castle Domitresque, which seems to have existed before Lady Alcina Domitresque moved in, indicated by differences in the decor and the general upkeep of the castle, in my opinion. Replicas of Rose are also trying to claim the purifying crystal, watched over by a distorted version of the Duke, Ethan's ally and friend, hunted by his faceless, humanoid hounds. Unknown to Rose, these other Roses are being tested by the Duke at Miranda's behest, to see if any of them can succeed in obtaining the purifying crystal, and therefore show enough tenacity and intelligence to be a fitting vessel for Eva. Rose learned how to use her mold powers after being aided by a mysterious guide she names Michael. Rose survives the Duke's trials and falls deeper into the Megamycete and enters a memory of the Beneviento mansion, which a certain someone calls home. That someone is none other than Evelyn, the bioweapon obsessed with having her own family and, even more so, Mia as her mother. Consequently, she loathes Rose. Inside the Beneviento mansion, Rose's memories of being bullied as a child are exploited by Evelyn in an attempt to make her feel as isolated as the bioweapon who delights in her torment. Following Rose around is even a wooden mannequin resembling Mia, weaponizing Rose's very family in an especially sadistic fashion. Evelyn is bitter that Rose was, as she sees it, chosen over her and essentially has everything Evelyn craves. A loving family with a father who performed the ultimate sacrifice and gave his life for Rose. I'm currently making a video all about Evelyn, so if you want to know more about the bioweapon, keep an eye on Eurogamer. Michael saves Rose from Evelyn's final attack and reveals himself, surprise surprise, to be Rose's father, Ethan Winters. Snaking through a decaying memory of the village, Rose delves deeper into the Megamycete, and Miranda has one final attempt to use Rose as a vessel for Eva. After hours of wrestling with her powers, Rose discards the purifying crystal and uses her powers to overcome Miranda, killing the inconsolable mother once and for all and saying a final goodbye to Ethan. Rose returns to the real world. Having finally met her dad, who she knew so little about, Rose sneaks out from under her handler's nose and visits Ethan's grave. It doesn't take long for her handler to find her though, and he stupidly decides that taunting someone as powerful as Rose is a good idea, calling her Evelyn. Now we know why Rose takes such an issue with that. She was unfortunate enough to meet Evelyn in the flesh, and being compared to her, even just to get a rise out of Rose, is enough to make Rose's anger flare up. And that's where Rose's story ends, for now. What do you think is in store for Rose's future? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed the video, thanks very much, and don't forget to like and subscribe to Eurogamer, as we have a new video out almost every single day. Now, I'm going to go and continue researching Evelyn, as she's a whole mess of trauma and evil and is fascinating, so I'll see you next time.